Hello, everyone, and welcome to the USA Triathlon's Youth and Junior Nationals Equipment and Competition Rules Briefing. I'm going to take a few minutes to discuss the gear expectations and briefly go through the rules of competition. So let's get started. This picture illustrates the preferred placement of your body markings on both arms between your shoulder and elbow, and on the side of both legs between your knee and your ankle. This picture also illustrates the typical one-piece tri-suit. A woman's one-piece swimsuit is also acceptable. You may also wear a two-piece tri-suit, but it must cover your torso. If your tri-suit has a front zipper, it must remain up during the entire competition. If you have a rear zipper, you may unzip it as much as you like to be comfortable. Tri-suits with sleeves are not allowed. Clip-on aero bars are no longer allowed in draft legal racing. Also, please check your handlebars and make sure that those ends are plugged as well. Swim caps will be distributed in your race packet. Remember, wetsuits are forbidden if the water temperature is 68 degrees or higher. Wetsuits are mandatory if the water temperature is 60.62 degrees or lower. Water and air temperature will be taken 1 hour prior to each race and posted in the transition area and broadcasted over the PA system. Standard road bikes are used in draft legal racing. Bikes with traditional drop style handlebars as shown in this slide. Double check that your bar ends are plugged. This slide also illustrates the preferred location of your bike numbers, either on the top tube or attached to your seat post. You may use any brand or type of wheel that you like, as long as it has a minimum of 20 spokes and both wheels are the same diameter. Bike helmet numbers should be attached as shown. You must wear an unaltered, undamaged helmet. It must be a helmet that is approved by a testing authority which is recognized by any national federation that is affiliated with World Triathlon. It must have the original safety sticker in place and it must fit properly. If the helmet is buckled and you can slip it over your chin, it is too loose. Get it tightened up and do so before you show up to the transition area. Here is an example of what a safety sticker looks like. For some helmets, the sticker is very easy to find. For others, you may need to hunt for it. So please, take a few moments, look inside your helmet and find that safety sticker and remember where it is. If the official asks to see that safety sticker, I'd like for you to be able to point it out to him. Now let's talk about what we can expect on race day. Athletes will be assigned race numbers. These race numbers will be assigned by this year's rankings. If an athlete has no rankings, their race number will be assigned in random order after the ranked athletes. Bike frame and helmet numbers will be provided at packet pickup along with your tattoos. Timing chips and swimming caps will also be in your race packet. Once again, athletes will be body marked with markers or temporary tattoos, as shown here. So on both shoulders, both legs. No race bibs will be provided or worn during the competition, so leave your race belt at home. At check-in, athletes should arrive ready, body marked, bike and helmet numbers attached properly. Officials will do a quick visual inspection of the equipment before the athletes are allowed into transition. Only registered athletes are allowed in transition. Once you rack your bike at your assigned spot, it cannot be removed until the competition begins. Only equipment used during the competition can be left in transition. Also, no marking your spots. So let's be careful of that talcum powder. You've done this a million times, but this is how we'd like your transition area to look like. Nice and clean. Swim start. Swim caps must be worn and will be distributed in your race packet. Athletes will have a swim warm-up prior to their event. We will line you up in sequential order prior to you choosing your spot on the start line. At the start of the race, athletes will be called to the start line by their race number and name. Athletes should select a position on the start line. After all the athletes have selected a position, the famous World Triathlon heartbeat music will start, meaning that the start of the race is very soon. The heartbeat music will fade to silence. Everything will be quiet. You will hear "on your marks," signaling you to step forward and get ready to race. Next comes the horn blast, signaling the start of the race. Let me be the first to warn you that there will be a pause between "on your marks" and the horn blast. So this is very important. Wait for the horn blast. If you start early, there may be an official waiting for you at your bike to give you a 10-second penalty. If lots of you start early before the horn blast, you will hear several horn blasts in a row and the kayaks will move in to stop you. Make your way back to your original position and we will restart the race. It has come to our attention that the swim segment has become increasingly more aggressive, and as such, will be monitored more closely by race officials. The video on the next slide shows that type of behavior that will not be tolerated and will result in an immediate disqualification. T1. You will return from the swim to your spot in transition where you must deposit your swim cap and goggles, and if a wetsuit is used, that as well, into the transition bin that is assigned to you. Please make sure you push your items in your bin. I've seen quite a few penalties in the past where athletes are putting their equipment in the wrong basket. Prior to removing your bike from the transition rack, you must have your helmet on and buckled. After that, you can remove your bike from the bike rack and move past the mount line to start the biking segment of the competition. On the bike, athletes may draft and may pass on either the left or the right side of the road. Spare wheels may be brought to transition where officials will approve them for use and take them to the location of the wheel stop. The lap out rule will be enforced at this event. If it is intimate that an athlete will be overtaken or passed by the first place athlete, this athlete will be lapped out. The official will safely get to the attention of the athlete about to be lapped out and let them know that they're about to be overtaken. This athlete must move to the side of the road, stop and walk their bike back to the transition in a manner that does not interfere with the race. The lapped athlete will turn in their timing chip to either the official or volunteer at the penalty tent or the official in transition. Lapped athletes are disqualified from the race, and this disqualification cannot be protested. T2. You may not touch the locking mechanism of your helmet until after your bike is securely racked. You will return to your marked spot in transition. You will rack your bike in one of three ways. Front of the saddle facing either direction, by both handlebars or both brake levers. All equipment, used or not, must be placed in your assigned bin, except shoes or water bottles that are already on your bike. Take note, if the bike shoe pops off the cleat during the dismount, it is not necessary to go back and get it. Leave the shoe rather than going against flow of traffic. You will not be penalized. There will be an official or a volunteer on a bicycle leading the first runner on the run course. Races will generally have water and/or sports drinks at the aid stations on the course. One more important aspect to this course. There is the possibility for the last bikers to be lapped out by the leader of the race. This is known as the first runner, last biker scenario. This can happen if the first runner is about to make the U-turn and head back towards transition. If the lead runner makes the U-turn, any biker that has not made it past this point will be stopped, lapped out. The lapped athlete should turn in their timing chips to either the official or the volunteer at the penalty tent or the official in transition. Lapped athletes are disqualified from the race, and this disqualification cannot be protested. Let's briefly talk about the rules of competition. It is important to note that the rules governing draft legal events that are sanctioned by USA Triathlon are the USA Triathlon multi-sport competition rules. These rules and the USAT draft legal and equipment checklist can be found on the USA Triathlon website. It is your responsibility as an athlete, coach, even parents to know the rules. The time for question about rules is before the competition. Now let's take a moment to talk about penalties. The first one is that of a warning. The official may give a verbal warning to correct an issue during the competition. Next is a time penalty. All penalties at this event are 10 seconds, and depending On when during the competition the infraction occurs, the penalty will be served in transition at your bike, at the penalty tent on the run course, or on the spot. The last is the red card. If you are shown a red card, you have done something that warrants you to be disqualified from the race. Unsportsmanlike behavior or endangerment are examples. Athletes that receive a red card may complete the race, with the exception of athletes being lapped out. And we talked about the lap out rule a few slides back. I'm not going to go over every single rule, but I did want to spend a moment on the violations that occur most often. As I mentioned a moment ago, early starters get a 10-second penalty in transition. Once the horn sounds, you must make forward progress to the water. You cannot block or continually interfere with the progress of another athlete. All used gear must be placed in the transition bin, the bin with your number, and again, all penalties are 10 seconds. Helmets must be buckled when touching your bike. Get in the practice of doing this before, during, and after the event. Mounting the bike before the mount line or dismounting the bike after the dismount line. Make sure you know the course, how many laps you need to do, what lap you're currently on, and like I mentioned a few slides ago, unsportsmanlike behavior is a disqualification. The penalty box is going to be a 10 by 10 tent. There will be a dry erase board in front of this tent, and if there are any penalties, the number of the athlete and a letter next to the athlete's number. The letter is an indication of the infraction of that athlete, D for dismount, E for equipment, outside the bin, and so on. This is an example of what the penalty board will look like out on the course. As you can see, athlete 12 had some equipment that didn't make it into the bin. Athlete 50 is having a really bad day. They had a mount line and a dismount line violation. Now, if this is a multi-loop run course, athlete 50 has a few choices on when to serve the two penalties. They can serve both penalties on the same time for 20 seconds, or this athlete may choose to serve one 10-second penalty on lap 1 and the second 10-second penalty on another lap if they so choose. If you happen to find your number on the penalty board and are ready to serve your penalty, you'd run up to the official at the penalty tent yelling out your race number. Once you stop, the official will start timing. You must simply stand there. The 10 seconds will seem like forever. You cannot receive any outside assistance while serving your penalty. Nobody can hand you a bottle of water, a cold towel, chair, nothing. You just stand there for 10 seconds. Once the 10 seconds has elapsed, the official will simply say go. But make sure it's the official that says go, not your coach or anyone else. Only the official has the authority to release you. This is important. Penalties not served will result in a disqualification. Make sure you check the board. Now let's take a moment to discuss the protest procedures. A protest may be filed with the head referee provided it has not been previously observed and ruled upon by the officials. Protests are usually filed against the conduct of an athlete's equipment, an official, or the conditions of the competition. You must notify the head referee within 5 minutes of your finish time your intent to file a protest. The head referee, who will be at the finish line, will provide you with a form to fill out. You have 15 minutes from your finish time to fill out the form and return it to the head referee. This form must be accompanied by $50 cash or check. The requirement for a $50 deposit is more or less a deterrent to prevent frivolous protest. If you win the protest, you'll receive the $50 back. However, if you lose the protest, you will not get the money back. Once the form is returned, the protest will be reviewed by the head referee and the competition jury. A discussion and investigation with all parties concerned will occur and a decision will be reached. All decisions on protests are final. If you have any questions, please direct them to the email address below. Timing, results, and awards. This may seem obvious, but the competition is won by the athlete who has the shortest time from the start signal to the moment when the athlete's torso crosses the finish line. This is important, especially if there's a sprint finish. It is the torso of the athlete, not which foot the timing chip is on. Results will be provided, including splits for swimming, T1, bike, T2, running, and the overall time. Awards will be presented for first, second, and third place in each race division. Finally, exceptional conditions. It is important to note that while we always expect to host a triathlon, in some cases that may not be possible due to weather or other unforeseen circumstances. If that is the case, some sort of multi-sport event will take its place, whether it's a duathlon or aquathon or some other two-segment event. The preferred option is the duathlon with the shorter run first. The rules for the replacement event will be followed. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the mixed relay. At check-in, athletes should arrive ready, body marked, bike and helmet numbers attached properly. Make sure your previous race day's number is not visible. Teams must arrive and transition together, and they must check in as a team. Officials will do a thorough inspection of the equipment before athletes are allowed in transition. Swim caps and timing chips will be handed out at the entrance of transition.
Transition bins will not be used for the mixed relay event. This does not mean that you can scatter your gear anywhere you like. All gear must be within a half a meter of your assigned position on the rack. The lap out rule will not be enforced for this event. This is going to require extra communication and care during the biking segment. If there's a pack of athletes that are about to overtake a cyclist, I'd like for there to be lots of communication so no one is caught off guard. Tag zone. Athletes must wait in a tag zone for the exchange. The next athlete to race should be along the fence waiting to be tagged. All others should be out of the way so not to interfere with the race. Tag is completed by the incoming athlete using their hand to make contact with the outgoing athlete in the tag zone. If the tag is not complete, the team may be disqualified. All athletes must cross the finish line. This will allow the timer to record your run splits. Team time is from the start of the first athlete to the finish time of the last athlete.
For penalties, only the team numbers will be displayed on the penalty board. Any athlete who has not already completed their race can serve the penalty for the team. If you have any questions, please email me at the address shown below. And thank you and good luck.